Good evening and welcome to Chit Chat Live for the week of, what is this week? April 11th. This week we are discussing Genealogy TV, in particular the Scott Foley episode of the Who Do You Think You Are series, which premiered on Sunday, April 10th. Everyone, I hope you are ready for a great show. Hi, my name is Shannon Combs Bennett. I am the creative director for the In-Depth Genealogist. Joining me this evening are Jennifer Alford, publisher, Terry O'Connell, our executive director, Melissa Barker, professional genealogist and archivist, and Sherry Hudson-Passy of Carolina Girl Blog and professional genealogist as well. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I always forget the name of your new thing, but I'll figure it out one of these days and remember, I promise. So we are here to talk about Who Do You Think You Are? What an amazing episode, ladies. Do you agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought
Definitely.
it was very, very powerful myself. So, gosh, there was so much information. Of course, I want to start off by I love that they went to the DAR library because it's one of my favorite places. I got to drive Jennifer by it the other day when she was here visiting, and we got to wave in the middle of the Cherry Blossom Festival.
Yes, it was quite hectic around there.
It sure was.
I don't.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't remember ever seeing them show how to use the website before either.
No,
maybe they haven't. I just don't remember. Yeah.
Terry was going to say something.
I think it looks so easy on the website.
That's true.
Let me be the first to say it's not.
Well, if you know how to use the website, it's easy.
Yes. Difficult.
There is a learning curve to the website.
There's a learning curve.
There's a learning curve to the website. But it's a wonderful website. Have Melissa, Sherry, Jen, have you guys researched ever on the DAR website?
Yes. I have, and I've ordered papers too. The packets, the files that they have.
You just
awesome.
You just need to come visit so we can go there and download them and walk away with them. Because you can print them out when you're there.
Right, right.
What I was going to say is about the website. There's this thing called the GRS, which is the Genealogical Record System, and there you can search by ancestor, member, or descendant. So if you think like your great aunt was a member, you can search by her name, or if you think you have a family line, or some of my family lines that I've proven, I actually went through the descendant research bar and searched my last name. But the one thing I want to point out, and I don't know how recently you guys have been on there, but since they began digitizing the library, you can actually go out, and a lot of the books are now starting to appear digitized on the website, as well as the library catalog listing. Some of the books you can only access digitized from the Symes Computer Lab at the DAR library, which seems kind of odd. I mean, you're there, why not go look at the book? But but it's really, they are doing a lot of really great new stuff with the website. So I wanted to put that plug-in in there because I'm finding lots of really great stuff recently in the last few months.
So let me ask you this.
Sure, Terry.
In regards to going to the DAR library, it was lovely that Scott was handed this folder, and here are these original documents.
Yeah, they were photocopies. Did you notice that they were color?
No, they really looked real.
They were color photocopies of the originals.
Ah, okay.
Color photocopies, because the pension records are at the National Archives 6 blocks away.
Yeah, all right.
Or 2 metro rides, 2 metro stops, whichever way you want to go. But yeah, those were, everything he was handed was color copies of records.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
And they said that a couple of times. These are facsimiles of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, one of my good friends, and you know what? I'm going to work on her. We need to get my friend who's a librarian at the DAR library on here for an interview. That's it.
Yes.
We're going to work on this.
Yeah, we do.
Great.
She occasionally, we, chit-chat and stuff. And I'm so excited. on April 5th, so this month, she actually became a DAR member.
I
Woohoo!
saw
Another one.
I thought she posted her certificate.
She did. She was more excited than she actually thought she was going to be at the
Oh, that's
becoming a
sweet.
DAR member. Um,
That's cool.
but they are in the process of going through and making digital copies of files and boxes of paperwork that has been donated by members for like the last 60 years. And she is finding some of the most amazing things, and it's slowly but surely coming online. There are they are trying to do a lot of really good stuff for researchers. So it's just, I think maybe we needed to do an episode just on the DA library. Maybe I'm being biased because I like to research there so much. But yeah, I thought it was amazing. And had you guys ever heard of General Washington's lifeguards before?
No.
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 That was a new term for me too. I mean, I knew he had like an elite group of men, but I didn't know that's what they were called. I think when we went to Valley Forge many years ago and did the little tour of Valley Forge, I think I remember one of the interpreters at the home that they rented, which became his headquarters. I think I remember her talking about his elite guards, but she didn't call them lifeguards, so that was a new term for me.
Yeah.
I got chills when he was at the house, and
Oh, I know.
I don't know, it just gave me chills because I thought, oh, that's just so cool.
Yeah.
And when he said he was probably standing right there when they read the Declaration of Independence for the first time, I got goosebumps.
I did.
Yeah. But I think we've all agreed, and I know Terry and Jen have said this a couple times too, that when you walk in the footsteps of your ancestors, you always, it's just a different feeling, right?
It's a complete feeling of awe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any other word that I can use to describe it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good right there. Gosh, okay. So, what else was there that we want to talk about tonight? We talked about General Washington. Okay, so I didn't know, I'm going to put this out here because I'm a bicentennial baby. I'm just going to say that. And everybody knows how young I am. And I just loved it that the reading of the Declaration of Independence was done on my birthday. So that was awesome.
Oh, yes. That's very neat.
That is neat.
Sorry. I find, I don't know if you guys do this too, but when you research, do you sometimes see a date and go, oh, that has meaning for me because it's like a birthday or somebody's anniversary?
Yes, all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
Because I'll let you know when we get out to the to later on, they mentioned one of my son's birthdays, and I was like, oh, that's crappy. So the house was really cool. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry, Sherry.
I was just say another thing that I thought was fascinating was that when he asked for soldiers the description, that he wanted certain heights and he wanted all these characteristics, and I mean that tells you what your ancestors like. If they said yes, you're going to be part of this guard, then you know what your ancestor was like. And how cool to get a description of your ancestor and his character like that.
He was tall and good looking.
It's really cool when you look at all those.
Go ahead, Terry.
The draft records, and you get that, like, short, tall, stout, the words. High.
Had anybody ever heard of the orderly books? And I wonder how many of them are of them.
The order books. Yes, I have heard of those before. Anybody else? They're now called general orders. Like, so if you do current military research,
right.
I think after the Civil War, they might have used general orders in the Civil War, but those were the orders that came from the different generals pertaining to the troops under their command. So I'm wondering if they dropped general off the front and just called them order books since he was the commander-in-chief of like the whole army.
That would make sense.
Like, unlike General Greene or, General General Arnold or et cetera. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I have to say general order books are fascinating So if you want to get a look at not only like the bigger picture of what a unit or an army goes through during wartime, but also the nitty-gritty things, because you can get a really good look of what day-to-day life in some instances were like. I was recently going through some general orders for a company that I was doing research for a client at College Park. So this is World War II. But there were things like, from now on, this is the way we're doing a fire drill. And it's like, if you have to specify how you're doing a fire drill and how many feet you have to have between things, you know that there's somebody who has screwed up.
Right?
Because we don't have rules like that unless somebody has done it.
Very, very true.
But yeah, a lot of those order books, Melissa, I think you can find, I wonder if they would be at the Museum, the American Revolution in Philadelphia. I know a lot of George Washington's papers obviously are at the Library of Congress, but I don't know where they would be held. What do you think as the archivist?
I would think National Archives, but that's just me. They kind of, when they were describing, they kind of remind me of the daily records from like the Civil War, because I've researched in those, and so it reminded me kind of something like that.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Did you all know that there was a Museum of the American Revolution in Philadelphia? I somehow, me, Miss military historian mother, have missed this, and I think because my child walked by as I was watching the episode and went, "Excuse me?" Like he did the, I heard something, and seeing as Philadelphia is only a day's drive away, I have a feeling we'll be going there soon.
Hey, that's cool.
How dare you withhold that information from him, Mom?
Yes.
You're so
Oh,
mean.
I'm a terrible, terrible mother. Oh,
Did you notice that they had a professional genealogist in this episode?
I know. I kind of did the Muppet art.
Kyle shows up in a few episodes.
He does. He does. He's a good one too. But I liked Kyle when Scott said, "How did you find all this information?" He actually, I'm sure they cut it down to it, but he actually said, "I did it through, birth, marriage, and death, and vital records research." And I'm like, good plug.
Yes. I was like, well done.
Go ahead, Terry.
I jumped out of my
I say
seat.
that I was just so excited because with every find there was like a new emotion on Scott's face. He was really into what they were finding and what he was learning and wanted to know more.
It's always nice when they're like that, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's kind of like when the camera accidentally caught his baby's first steps at the beginning of the
Yes.
episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that was adorable.
Sorry, I just had to, for all the moms out there, I just had to kind of throw that out there,
I just about jumped out of my seat when they showed him his family tree and there was a Barker on it.
I didn't see that.
That's my husband's family, but I said, "Oh, there's a Barker on it."
So?
Oh boy,
It's
it was a
not
woman.
that,
It was
it's
a
not that
woman.
common, right? Barker is not that common of a name
Oh,
in the U.S.?
Very common. Very, very common.
All right, never mind.
Yeah.
I know a couple.
Maybe this is where I say you're the only Barker I've ever met. So maybe it's a regional common thing.
It's so funny because usually, and you'll appreciate this being genealogists, but usually we get called bakers, and the records, as I do research, I have to research Baker records because it's done back then too. But I always tell people my name is Barker, like Bob Barker, which I have not connected. I have not connected to Bob Barker yet.
So this is what I have to ask. Does anyone ever remind you to spay and neuter your pets?
No.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. My grandmother
Actually, yes.
Oh,
I
really?
can say yes to that, Shannon. You know why? Because one of the volunteer that I have that works at the archives, she is a dog and cat. She's just really into those, and she has told me that. So yes, I can
Oh,
say
okay.
that.
All right, all right, all right. So before we move on from Mr. Foley's ancestor, um, Simon Wardwell. We never actually said his name. Simon Wardwell, his fifth great-grandfather, who was member of General Washington's Lifeguard. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about him? Because there was a lot of really good stuff.
There was, but I just have to say I'm so sad we skipped over the Civil War.
Oh,
I'm just saying, you know, there could have been something interesting in there.
there could have been. But, you know, I do think we discussed this last week when you weren't here, Terry, because you were having fun. We kind of discussed how Who Do You Think You Are in last week's episode is focusing on a story instead of how many ancestors.
Yes.
So maybe
Right.
they did give him information, but for the show they focused
Cut it
on this
out, yeah.
family lore bit. I want this answer. It makes you
It doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault.
I
I just want you to know that I've been looking though, because that's what I was doing as as we went through all this. That what was it? Harrington Fogg, which was who married the Wardwell.
Mm-hmm.
His father Frank would have been the one. So I'll be looking.
You'll be fine. See, I know Terry. I know her. I think I made this comment last week that too bad Terry's not here. We had a research project. So this week we know what Terry's research project is.
Absolutely.
But you know, I had a thought and it just floated away. So never mind.
Shannon,
Yes.
I was just thinking that once again they started with a family member sharing what they knew.
Yeah.
And the family lore, and family lore rang true this time. You
Yeah,
know,
that
so
was
I
pretty
thought
awesome.
that was great. Yeah.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. I was going to say it's kind of like with this episode and the last episode, they're actually showing the genealogical research practice that you should be, where you start with a question and you research for that answer instead of following the rabbits down rabbit holes, which is what a lot of genealogists do. But, you know, maybe that's the way we should start looking at these shows if they keep on this trend, that instead of, you know, just focusing on one ancestor is like us sitting down to do a research outline or a research plan, and we have our one question, and we are going to go about researching that question, which is how good genealogists should be researching, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm trying to put a good spin on it for you, Terry.
Yeah.
Well, so we skipped from, you know, 1770s back to the 1690s in one fell swoop in this episode, all the way back. And he got a scroll. I'm just going to say once again,
Yes.
someday I'm going to walk into a library and they're going to present me with one. I just know it, right?
Well, Dave told us all we had to do was come on down and he'd give us a scroll. Might not be our, but we'd get the scroll.
I'm calling Dave. That's not nice. So, yeah, so he got a scroll that went back to his 9 times great-grandfather, Thomas Wardwell, but it was his 8 times great-grandfather, which not only caught the historian that was there, Mary Beth Norton, but also the woman the Salem witch trials expert he talked to, Margot Burns, because his 8 times great-grandfather was put on trial for being accused of being as one of his accusers put it, a wizard. And I know that made Sherry very, very excited because she's been talking about it for weeks.
Yeah, it's my goal in life although it's sad and I know that, but it's my goal in life to find.
Well, you know, Sherry, if you ever find one, there is a lineage society.
I know.
And it's a
One
black
has to
woman.
wonder if Jessica, what was her name?
Sarah Jessica Parker?
Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah. Because she had a
I
wish.
was wondering that.
He did too.
Yes, and I was wondering that because one of the names that was listed with his ancestor was a Parker. And I was wondering if that's where that, it's been a long time since I've seen that one.
I don't think that was, I don't think it was, it wasn't the Parker, it was a different name. And she was later because I don't, if I remember correctly, she never actually got to trial because by the time she was,
very end.
yeah, by the time she was, the governor came to the census.
Okay.
Governor, you're stopping this.
It's been a while and I couldn't remember.
You know what? It was first season, and someone said this is its 8th season here in the U.S. Is that true? Has it really been 8 seasons?
Oh, really? That long?
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
I'm not sure that that's
incredible.
right. I mean, it's going into its 13th season in the UK this summer will be at the beginning of its 13th season, but maybe that's right. Holy crowly, whoa, my gosh.
Time flies. Yes.
Okay, so the Salem witchcraft trials, there was, he got to see the facsimiles of the documents. That was pretty cool. I can't believe they tried to, they made him try to read them first.
I know, that was so funny. I was just cracking up over that.
He was like,
and they're like, oh, well, we do have this translation for you. He's like, yes, please.
Have any of you had experience with reading handwriting from that far, from, 400 years ago for the differences? How it's a, Terry's making a funny face.
That was a no.
Oh, okay.
I haven't. It's really, it's hard. Yeah, it's very hard to read. You just got to work with it.
Yeah.
And find other examples and just, I got a really good hint once from somebody who said if you'll go through it and pick out the words you can read first,
yes,
it sort of helps the flow. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And you'll probably, those of you who have read handwriting will probably agree that the more you're exposed to it, the easier it becomes.
As an archivist, I read a lot of judges' handwriting and a lot of attorney handwriting, and so it really gets me in good practice for just about any kind of handwriting.
I have.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you just had a doctor in there too, man, you'd really be really good at reading just chicken scratch,
So for anyone out there who wants to attempt reading historical handwriting, Kip Sperry has an excellent book, and it's over on my shelf, which is why I keep turning around to find the name of it. It's Reading Early American Handwriting. Do you guys have that book? It's an excellent book.
I do.
It's a book that I think if you're really interested in reading early handwriting in general, for court documents or probate records or pension records or whatever, it's a good manual to have because he goes through all the different styles and abbreviations and how to get familiar with it. And it's not that, it's kind of like a workbook. It's a soft back cover, but it's really, really good. The other good one is a website by the National Archives of Britain. They have a paleography. They have a paleography website off of their
cool.
tutorials, and it has videos and how-tos and examples of how to read British handwriting. But let's face it, in in the colonial era for America,
that's right. That's right.
We have
that's where they learned to write
there.
Yes.
So those are my two big things for anyone who is interested in learning how to read early handwriting. Is to get that book and to go to that website.
I have a suggestion for those of us on the panel that are writers, because there's going to be a much needed book in the future, if not today, to teach adults that are children now how to read cursive writing.
Yes. Absolutely.
I have a high
we need to get started on that now.
Yes.
I have a high schooler who cannot do cursive handwriting, and it kills me.
How are they going to read our documents?
Yeah, my kids.
Go ahead, Sherry.
My kids had to sign some papers the other day, and it said signature, and then the print, and they're like, what's the difference? They printed both, and I said, well, that works. Because I don't know. Those are my younger ones.
Okay. See, I actually made him learn a signature, And he's like, why? And I said, because it says
That's a good-
signature.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
unique
Well,
to
it
you.
just, yeah, it just didn't click until they did that. I thought, oh my gosh, they can't even write their signature. So I'm going to do like you. I'm going to make them learn how to do it.
Yeah, he was taught it in 3rd grade here in Virginia, but they were never forced, like it was a unit. They learned how to do the script and blah, blah, blah. And he's a lefty, so it was very difficult. He couldn't make the letters look like, the examples and stuff. And
Yes.
his father's a lefty, so you would think, they would work together. Yeah, okay. And
Well, just makes you, the whole thing makes you worry about. Think about 10 years from now, 15 years from now. Who do you think you are? It's going to be all like it's foreign language.
mhm.
It's like reading French.
They're going to have to present them with a translation.
How sad.
all I keep thinking about is how excited I was when I could finally read my grandmother's handwriting and they couldn't keep secret notes from me anymore. And now, as an adult, I am so excited because I can keep keeping secret notes from my kids. Okay, so enough about that. Let's talk about witches.
Let's do.
Let's do, because I know Sherry's just like, so Sherry, one who wants to
Yes.
find an ancestor who was a wizard, what was your favorite part? Or did you just find the whole thing just fascinating?
I did, but I don't want to jump to the end, but just having him be able to go to where they have put the memorials at.
Mm-hmm.
Since they said they just took their bodies and, chucked them somewhere, to be able to go and have him sit on that bench with his ancestor's name.
That was
And
amazing.
like he said, tourists will come and see this and walk out these gates and not think about it ever again.
Yep.
But that was his story. And I loved how he said that those stories were part of him now, and he's going to take them wherever he goes. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I wrote that down, and he said, I take his story forward
Yes.
from this day forward wherever I go. And
Yeah.
as a writer, when I write my family stories, it's like we're the ones who are remembering them. And that is the perfect
Mhm.
example of how as
Yes.
long as you are remembered, you will not be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jerry,
Yes.
recently there was an article about them. They believe they found the actual spot where they did the hangings. Did you see that?
Oh, wow. I didn't see that. Oh, wow.
That for you.
Yeah, and if they do, they need to put something there too. They need to, in memory, because and then the description, oh my gosh, of the hangings and how it would take 20
Right.
minutes, and they would, I was like,
I can't believe
They'd all
do we
just
have to-
stand there and watch. Ugh.
Yes.
Right.
So the name of the book that he was, pardon me, oh, got the hiccups, that he was given was More Wonders of the Invisible World, which was published in 1700, so about less than 10 years later. And I think it's an excellent example, and probably Melissa will agree, that how firsthand accounts written like that at the time are excellent records to give you more insight and information into events.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. Because they were the person who wrote the book was closer to the event
Right.
Yes.
in time.
Yes.
And I also wondered, I sat and wondered if maybe that book, might be on like Google Books or something because of the
Oh.
copyright. I wondered if it would be no longer.
That's a good
I'll
question.
look.
Or archives, Internet Archives.
Internet Archives, yeah.
Mhm.
It could be out there somewhere. But yeah, More Wonders of the Invisible World was the name of it. So I would be interested to read it, to see what else
I
is
would
in
be
there.
too.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, when I start typing it, it's the second thing that comes up in Google search. So.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
Well, it was fascinating
Wow.
to hear. It was fascinating to hear his ancestor's story, but it made me actually want to go seek out the book because of the descriptions in there. It came to me that would be an interesting read.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It is completely scanned on the Library of Virginia website.
Yay!
Yay!
Even happy.
Indexes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So that's where you find it.
All right.
Oh, it's
All right.
like, it looks like the Library of Virginia's got a whole thing on the Salem witch trials.
Okay. Who knew?
Who knew?
You should have, Shane.
I should have known. I'm so sorry. Oh
You're
my
supposed to be our resident Virginia expert.
Darn
That's
it.
right.
Okay.
I was also fascinated by the transcripts, well, of the trial, and the things that they were being accused of, pinching and slapping, and I mean, we've heard those things, but to actually have them read it and watch the face of someone whose ancestors being accused of those things,
right,
was I think it was pretty emotional too. It was emotional for him.
Isn't it true, because I've not done a lot of research, Sherry, maybe you could say, but isn't it true that some of these people who were the accusers were accusing so that they wouldn't be accused?
I have heard that as well. I have heard that as well. Yes.
Before, Terry has something to say, but I was going to comment real quick on that. And the other reason why you would accuse somebody is sometimes you got their land and some of their possessions out of the deal.
Sneaky.
So sometimes accusing people and such after the initial hysteria became more of a who can accumulate more whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh.
But Terry had a comment. I could see it in her eyes.
I did, and as we're talking about seeing like the actual documents where they were making the accusations, it just brought me back to like a grammar school history class, and you're learning. And I think the Salem witch trials, every time we went over it, it was always the one that everybody was so interested in.
Oh yeah.
And how cool would it have been to have those printed in a book instead of just this person who was accused of this and blah, blah, blah. It was interesting to start with, but it would have been so much more interesting to have all that too.
Right.
Yeah.
So the one thing, speaking of, I have a couple notes here when they were going through the different accusations against him, against Samuel Wardwell. And one of them was that he had a reputation for telling fortunes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting because it seems like it wasn't necessarily like this was something out of the blue, because when you have people coming forward and he is known in the community for making these types of comments and things, it's almost like, unfortunately, he would have been the perfect person to accuse it eventually.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, really.
I agree. Yeah, and probably people were coming to him, and there wasn't a big deal until this whole thing blew out of hand,
Right.
So he was probably free to do it as much as he wanted beforehand, and nobody batted an eye at it.
Right. Yeah. Wow. It's really heavy. I mean, the only thing this is going to sound really, really odd, but I'm really, really happy that the hysteria here in the colonies was, one, so short-lived. It was less than 9 months, maybe 10, and it never got to the severity of what it was like in Europe. With the mass executions and hundreds of people being burned in town squares. And I mean, heck, Scotland didn't get rid of their witchcraft laws until the 20th century. So I'll just put that out there.
Okay.
But I remember when my parents were living in Germany, going to some of these larger towns, and you would see plaques on the walls like how many, the numbers were literally in the thousands of people who were, and animals who were burned, being accused of witchcraft over the centuries in these town squares.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
But if you'll excuse me, I have to go stir my brew.
Oh.
I thought it was fun when he talked. I thought it was fun when he talked at the end about how his daughter had dressed up as a witch for Halloween.
Yeah.
Made him think for a minute, well, now I have one that was burned at the stake for that, and now my daughter, that's going to mean more. And I was laughing because my son spent the day today in the wizarding world of Harry Potter.
Well, that's what I kept thinking of. Every time they said witchcraft and wizards, and I'm going, Harry Potter!
But in Harry Potter's world, the real witches and wizards just giggled, remember? Because they could say the little charm to make it funny. when they were being burned. Sorry, that's one of the things I got from Harry Potter. Oh, ladies, we are coming up to the end of our time. Is there anything you think that we missed? There was a lot of really, really good information.
It was definitely a great episode.
I'm going through my little cheat sheet here, and I have something that I can share with everybody that wasn't in the episode. Dun, 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 dun. So not in the episode, but that we are allowed to share with everybody. It says Samuel's wife, Sarah, was also accused of witchcraft and confessed.
Oh, wow.
I wonder why they didn't bring that in.
I don't know, but it says they were both jailed, their children sent away to live with neighbors, and Sarah fared better than Samuel. Although she was found guilty and sat in jail for months, including during her husband's hanging, she was ultimately pardoned and set free when the governor put the end to the executions.
Oh, wow.
That would have added so much to the story.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the rest of it. Scott learned that Sarah and Samuel's son won a settlement for family property that was seized after his parents were arrested, and the courts reversed course, stating that it was, in fact, the accusers and witnesses that were under the influence of the devil. It wasn't.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't until 2001 that the governor of Massachusetts signed a legislation officially exonerating the last 5 women executed.
Wow.
There you go.
That's crazy that it had to be that long.
People just forgot. They didn't think about it.
Ugh.
Goodness.
Yeah. So there's some, I think that would have been an interesting little touch at the end. But, maybe they didn't want to.
That makes him being there in that memorial so much
stronger,
more meaningful, and even and even heavier because of the whole family was, wife, child, everybody was involved. Yeah, it affected them all in such a horrific way.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine being a child and both of your parents are in jail, being accused of being a witch and a wizard.
And I think that what I find interesting is maybe they didn't have any of their family there because it was still an early colony, but they were sent to live with neighbors. What if it was the neighbors who had accused them? Can you imagine what that would have been like? Because you don't know. I mean, they don't say who they were sent to live with, just that it was neighbors. But
or just even neighbors that agreed with the accusers.
Right.
Yes. Wow.
All those layers, to say the least.
Yes.
It's like a parfait. Everybody loves it. Oh, sorry. Parfait's got layers. Wow. Yeah. So that was really powerful. I'm in a mood tonight, I gotta tell you. So, ladies, I think that was a really great show. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very good.
I think it was great.
One of the best I've seen.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Next week is supposed to be Leah Michelle, who is going to nail down where her mysterious paternal ancestors came from and learns about the dire economic circumstances they endured while trying to immigrate to the U.S. So that should be, I wonder if there was lots of immigration records. That would be fun.
Should be good.
That'd be really, really good.
Doesn't tell us where they're immigrating from, does it?
It does not.
Rhode Island.
Oh. They've got to keep you in suspense, right?
Another week.
Another week.
It's wrong, I say.
Oh, dear. Okay. Well, ladies, thank you again for joining us tonight. We greatly appreciated you being on the panel, and I hope everyone out there in YouTube land learned something new and fun and extraordinary this evening, because it was a great episode. Great episode.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Okay. And on that note, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, you are welcome to send us your comments, questions, concerns, opinions. We would love to hear from you no matter what they are. Follow us on Facebook, like us on Twitter. That's the opposite. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. After 5 years, I'll get it. Or send us a plain old email to editor@theinDepthGenealogist.com. Don't forget to go in depth with all of your ancestors. Bye.